Not to mention any EVPs that may come through. That's electronic voice phenomenon, voices you cannot hear with your own ears. So if you guys find something on there, you're going to have my contact info more than just my phone number. So you'll have to get a hold of me to let me know what you guys found so I can either prove it or debunk it. I'm going to do a quick demo with all of these devices as I hand them out. So no matter what device you have, it's going to be like you have all of them tomorrow morning when I get you your data back. So kind of keep that in mind as well. It's part of the reason why I have you guys show up early. So that way I can kind of get a basis of like personalities, who doesn't want to be here, where's my skeptic, where's the shy one, the chatty Cathy, those kind of things. Yeah, I'm a writer. You're all characters to me. Sorry. But as I go through these devices and do a quick demo, hang on to your questions because you're going to have questions. I pretty much answer all of them at our next stop. It's more of a hands-on experience. This is just a quick demo so you can guys see what we're actually working with. So this is thermal imaging. Why would I want thermal imaging inside of a ghost hunt? Come on, guys. It's interactive. You can answer.
Cold spots.
Exactly. We are literally looking for cold spots. So it's the old adage that goes create cold spots, and that's how we're going to look for them. So you should be able to see me in there. That's the red, orange, and yellow guy in there. So again, that means I'm the warmest, hottest thing inside the picture, ladies, however you want to look at it. You're not a bachelorette party, but it does work here. Sorry, guys, it happens. But we are literally looking for blue and black to start taking shape or move on its own. So I will tell you that I accidentally left my super short cord at home, so I had to do a makeshift cord based out of what was in my car. But I'm like, the thermal goes out every single night, so we're going to definitely use it. So Jacob, you're actually going to be using this guy. You're going to hold it horizontal so you can actually see the screen. Okay. Your hand just went over the lens. I think you should be good. It's right there in your bottom left-hand corner. Perfect. So you have a blue dot bouncing around that screen as well. That blue dot gives you the coldest spot in the frame at that particular moment. So that's the cool thing about that. It's actually helping direct your eye on where the cold anomaly might actually be. I usually look for anywhere between 15 plus degree drops when I'm going through your video. So that's what I'm looking for. So next camera, let's get that guy out. So this next one, brand new. Just started using this one, new upgraded model, about 2 weeks ago. It's been absolutely amazing. So quick demo with this is you should not be able to see me in that camera. It should be pretty dark in there. Sun's not completely down yet because y'all showed up super early, but that's okay. So again, it's a little tiny GoPro, but we're gonna turn on some lights. Kind of get see how everything turns purple in there? And you can't see the light with your own eyes. You need the camera to be able to see that. We're working with infrared lighting with this. So again, I just illuminated 10 LEDs, making the entire screen purple. The hope here is that we're going to be able to capture something we would not normally be able to find with our own eyes. So we're going to do some spot checking on this guy as well. So again, even with that particular camera that you have, Jacob, we're going to do some starts and stops. Just because as we're walking in between spaces, we don't necessarily need to be recording that. So George, this one's going to go to you, sir. You're going to handle that. It's a little heavy, so it's got a little bit of weight to it on purpose, so that way it stays a little bit more steady. It's not recording yet, so you can almost kind of like just get used to it, and then you can kind of relax. You know, so spirit boxes. Everybody loves using spirit boxes. Make sure I got the right one first. Okay. All right, so spirit boxes are a way for us to communicate with the dead. How cool is that? We're going to be chatting with them all night long. So spirit boxes, if you watch the TV shows and YouTube channels that actually do this, it's normally the white noise, and then your host will normally give you some kind of BS he thinks he heard and put it up on the middle of the screen. Yeah, we're going to be doing that in real time. So mine is slowed down on purpose. None of you are trained to listen to white noise for 2 hours at a time. On top of the history I'm going to give you, somebody's going to fall asleep. So I slow these guys down on purpose to allow the radio chatter to come through. I want the song lyrics, the DJs, and the commercials to come through. So Lindsay, if you actually hear anything out of this, as far as any of those three things, song lyrics, a DJ, let us know what you heard. If you heard Welcome to Charleston, I want to know that you heard Welcome to Charleston. Buy a Kia today, buy a Kia today. No matter how silly you think it might be, I want to know what you actually got going on. You're going to have an earbud in. She's going to be the only one to hear this in real time, but this guy does record. So this is obviously the MP3 I'm going to send back to you. I will spot check it and give you more, like 15 to 25 more things that I find, whether they're relevant or not. It's going to help train the rest of you on how to listen to this regular audio. So with that, you can play with the volume as much as you want to. It doesn't mess up the recording. So just put one earbud in so that way you can kind of turn it up and down and listen to me at the same time. This is not an easy task, just so you know. Earbuds will be yours when we're done because your earwax is gross. Yeah. Undo the twist tie. Your volume button is right here. I'm going to make sure it's all the way down. It's the wheel, not the button. Okay. Alright, so we're going to be using 2 of these. ALLIYAH, yours is not going to record.
Okay.
So we're going to be relying on you in real time and I'll be writing those down. Like I keep a little notepad with me. So yours is the same way. Keep your own earbuds, and then your volume is a wheel at the very top. Okay. It's already turned down all the way right now.
Okay.
Jennifer.
Yes.
Yours is probably one of my favorites. So this guy we don't have to listen to. This is another spirit box, but it is going to give us a word from time to time in the center of the screen. If you're familiar with the TV shows, they would call this an ovulus. So basically, this thing has 36,000 terms and phrases in it. We're going to get approximately anywhere between 75 to 100 terms and phrases tonight. This is a phone app. It is designed to try to scare people. It is going to generate a word from time to time and then save all of them into a list. Last night's group, they had 114 terms show up. The average is about 75. So they actually had a pretty decent list. There was a lot that came out of that. I am going to tell you that because this is a phone app, that 80% of this is not going to mean anything. It's going to be garbage. So it's the other 20% where I'm going to show you why it's relevant to our space, and then obviously give you a link to be able to verify the information. I do not want to see every word that pops up, because if we get another 114 terms, we're going to be out here till like 4 in the morning. Yeah. I will come to you when I want to see the full list.
Okay.
And then I'll show you how to get to that. Who's left?
Me.
You're my multitasker.
Oh. It's like the wrong person for that.
You'll be fine. Because it does all the work for you. So that's the cool thing. So this is what we call a millimeter. So you guys have seen like the blinky light K2 EMF detectors on TV. So this one is a digital version of that, and it's way more accurate. So the bottom number, if it goes above 2.5, I want to know what's going on. That's kind of the barometer of what the blinky light one does. The 2.5 is its first reading, so we're going to kind of gauge it anything above that. The little blinky one only goes to 25 milligauss. This I've seen spike out at over 200. That's why I like to use this one, because it's way more accurate.
Okay.
The bottom is ambient temperature. So if Jacob finds something on his camera, you and I can prove it or debunk it with the yellow probe right here at the top.
Okay.
The last thing that it has, we're not going to use this all the time, and I'm going to show you more about it at our first location. It's called a REM pod, basically a motion sensor. If something gets close to this antenna that I just pulled out, it's going to go off. I am not touching it right now. So the closer it gets, obviously higher pitch and different color schemes that come out of it. So we're going to talk more about that at our next location, because there's a lot more involved with the motion sensor and how to use it. For now, just get used to how those numbers move on your red screen.
Okay.
So those of you that actually have the 2 spirit boxes with the earbuds, you can also share the other earbud with the person you brought with you. So that kind of helps things move along as well. So Jennifer, based on your device, if it's proving to be kind of inactive tonight, I am going to give you a secondary device, so that way you have something to listen to, and hopefully George's camera will pick up the audio from it, and it works a lot differently. So, all right guys, go have fun. Let me know what happens. No, I'm kidding. Don't go anywhere. Just making sure you're all paying attention. Nice. I know I talk a lot. You guys have to interrupt me from time to time, or else I'm going to go.
So what am I supposed to do with mine? Just walk around and point it at things?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Normally, if I have my full groups of 10 out here, we would use lasers to detect motion along with that. Okay. And I normally put that in groups, like, because there's 3 parties of 2 tonight. Yeah. I would make sure like the lasers were in a party of 3 or more, just because that's not an in-the-moment type find when you're looking for that motion. It's all about the review on the video. Okay. So with the thermal imaging camera, however, those can be an in-the-moment find, like really, really fast. So, but with yours, it's all about what orbs and anomalies can I find in that camera. So again, I made sure that there was a spirit box in every single group, so that way it's kind of, you guys can intertwine your different devices among your party. Everything gets sanitized twice a day, just so everybody kind of has that sense of security. But yeah, let's talk about why we started here. This is Big John's Tavern, right? That's where I have you guys all meet me. Did you get your text, by the way?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay, perfect. So, Big John's. This place used to be owned by a football player. His name was Big John Kennedy. Can you imagine why they named it Big John's Tavern? I can't. Yeah, so, he played for the 1947 New York Giants. This was his place. And he used to sit in the back of the bar, and he would tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel, if they were old enough to drink or not. One night, 2 guys come in, they're not old enough to drink. They come back the next night, and they actually try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's going on. He gets up, slams down his beer, and just starts beating the hell out of these guys, just pounding them right into the floor. A couple of gunshots go off. John gets grazed in the neck, but the bullet lands behind him in the wall. John gets up after being shot, and goes back to the bar and tells the bartender to get him another beer, get the 2 guys on the floor in an ambulance. Now, normally if I tell you there's a haunted building behind me, you would think of some tragic death that occurred there. Nobody died in that story I just told you. The moral of the story is that you don't mess with Big John. He's going to kick your ass. But the other piece of this is that the bullet hole is allegedly still here. This is a renovation of Big John's. This is not the original. It's the original building, but that means that the bullet hole is allegedly still here. Even if this renovation filled it in, Big John's blood is inside this building. People that sit in the front, like have dinner there or have a few drinks, tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, or headache. You're going to be dealing with paranormal tonight, fingers crossed. I can't make the ghosts do anything because they're not on the payroll. I tried. They don't like money. But if anybody feels any of those symptoms tonight, I need to know immediately. Like, it's a big deal. I don't know how it's going to affect anybody if you've never dealt with this before. So this is probably the scariest thing I'm going to tell you all night long because it deals with your own health. So just let me know and we'll move the whole group and get that person to safety. Is that fair?
Nope.
Yeah, I know. Everybody kind of looks at me whenever I tell that speech like, what the hell did we just sign up for?
Yeah.
So, same building. Have you guys taken any other tours in Charleston?
No.
Nothing at all?
We took the jail tour a long time ago.
Yeah, they stopped doing that tour too.
Yeah.
So they're renovating it into office buildings from what the rumor is. Yeah. So I knew it was coming. That's why I waited. I knew it was coming. So the reason why I asked that is because every tour in town will tell you about our big earthquake here in 1886. This building behind me is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake. This is South Carolina. We're not supposed to have earthquakes. We're supposed to have hurricanes. So a piece of the mantle you see in the middle of the building, that white bar, also wraps around the front of the building on East Bay Street. A piece of it broke off, struck somebody in the back of the head, killed them, and they say you could see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street. I say apparently and allegedly a lot with that because it's just a great segue, so Leah's not thinking about getting sick on the tour. She had the biggest eyes when I said people should get sick. So, is everybody ready to go ghost hunting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's
do
go up to our next spot and learn more about these trees.
Is that fair? Is that no?
Oh god. I feel like I got so much pressure right now. I feel like I got so much pressure right now. Like, you gotta make sure it's good.
Alright, come on over. So Jennifer, I am going to give you that secondary device just to see if we can actually get anything on this spirit box. Just so you know how this one works, everybody. This is going to sweep through FM and AM radio stations at the same time. So the two that are listening to spirit boxes right now, you're hearing a lot of crunching and white noise kind of mentality. Yeah. This is going to attempt to take out that white noise and only give us words out of it. The cool thing is that it's only going to give us like 10 to 12 terms tonight. However, those 10 to 12 terms, 75% of them will be accurate to our location. So I love this spirit box. It's a lot of fun. So this is kind of relatively new to the tour too, so I want you to kind of handle both of them if you can. This will also give you and George something to listen to. So if the blinking lights are at the top, the right-hand side has a mute button. I'm going to put it on mute right now. Okay. So that way I'll let you know when we can actually turn it on. Look at you, double-fisted. You got this. So with this space, this is a place where I can show 10 people how to use 10 different devices. So this is the big red barn where we keep the horses for the carriage rides. You guys can probably smell them. I'm out here 7 nights a week. I'm immune to it. So I just can't. But this is another reason why we use earbuds with spirit boxes, because the horses do not like white noise, and why we have you on mute, Jennifer, just so you know. So they will kick the wall and that metal wall and scare the bejesus out of all of us, which is, we don't spend a lot of time here. The history here is really simple, and I did it that way on purpose so I can get straight into your devices with prime examples. This is the same red barn that held horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. That's it. That's all I got. 1860s to 1920s. So let's talk about the 4 spirit boxes that we're using tonight. Everybody wants to ask the same question whenever they get a communication device. What do you think that question is? Think of a Ouija board. What's the first thing you ask a Ouija board?
Is anybody here?
Is anybody here? Yes. If ALIYAH hears no, that means somebody's here. We are not going to be asking yes and no questions all night long. Whether you're a skeptic or not, you're here for some kind of paranormal proof and for something that actually occurred. We're looking for those specific details. In a space like this where you're brand new to a spirit box, I would normally give you the example of ask a question you already know the answer to. For example, if somebody's here, tell me what color the big red barn is. Obviously, we're listening and looking because we have a word list for the color red. But your spirit boxes are using DJs and song lyrics to convey messages back to us. The only disembodied voices that we may possibly get, and they're a rarity through the two spirit boxes that you're using, are going to be through Jennifer's AM and FM sweeper that she's using, because we can't really tell because it's taking out the white noise. But the color red might not be available to those DJs and song lyrics. But blood, heart, fire truck, those three things are specifically red. I would take that as an acceptable answer because it is a specific color. What color is a big red barn? Blood. I'm good. However, most of the night, I'm going to require that there's at least two pieces of something going on to be able to verify what's happening. Another example, and this is going to be kind of neat because we're going to use both of Jennifer's spirit boxes. Let's say her word list has the word art on it. It doesn't mean anything here by itself, but then she hears the number 40 come out of the other one. Art Fairclough was number 40 on Big John's team. Do you see where I'm going with this? How we're going to have to put clues together all night long? And a lot of times tonight you're going to hear me say, that's a great first clue. I am going to wait to see what else is going to occur based on what everybody else is hearing. I'm going to withhold information on purpose, just so that we can have genuine experiences. Is that fair to everybody? Yep. All right, so let's talk about cameras. So thermal imaging, go ahead and point it at me. You're going to do two things. Well, both cameras, first off, we're going to be in spaces like this where there might be parked cars or people walking by. If I do like an Andy's Coming or Act Natural, Andy's Coming from Toy Story, that was a joke that everybody missed, cool. It's going to be a act casual. So you're holding a cell phone, it's going to be very easy to hide. People don't like the cars to be filmed, and they don't like to be filmed either. And then George, the only thing I'll ask of you is don't look like a YouTuber with the camera and somebody's you know, don't be that guy. So basically, you just point yours straight to the ground, basically, because people just don't like their cars to be filmed. But you're going to try to do two things for us. You're going to try to keep one of us in view. The reason why is because our skin temperature is going to be the warmest thing out here. We should all be 97 and 99 degrees, roughly. If somebody goes over 100, like Jennifer over here, let me know. I'll kick her off the tour so she can go feel better. So the other thing you're going to try to do is try to keep, well, our skin color is basically going to help keep an array of color on your screen, and it's much easier to find those cold spots when you can get 97 down to 70, whatever the temperature is ambient. Yeah. So the other thing you're going to try to do is keep the sky out of view. That blue dot will default to the sky when it's in view, just because it's looking for a surface and there's no surface on the sky. So it's going to be difficult in some places, sometimes impossible. Just do your best.
Gotcha.
And as far as your camera, George, we're going to get you recording at the next spot. And again, you're going to be helping with listening in on the spirit boxes, but you're basically going to be a nice, very still cameraman. So with that particular camera, we're not using lasers tonight. I'm going to be looking for a lot of different things because I'm getting ready to change out those lights in comparison. So the more still you guys can be, the better off I can kind of gauge things when I get the new lights for it. Just because that's a brand new updated camera. It actually just came in a few days ago, but I had to return it. So that's the new upgrade and replacement for the upgrade. But I found a better light for the top, so I want to get a nice still video to be able to compare things. But again, I want you definitely listening in on those spirit boxes too. Everybody have a great gist of how to use their devices except for Allie, because I'm going to show her more at the next stop. Okay? Silence is compliance. Let's do this. We're going to go to the next stop and get away from football players and ponies.
So do I keep this on mute?
For now. I'll go over the history of the next space, and then I'll say, all right, let's get straightened up. Let's do this.
I was going to say, how was it?
Why?
Finance.
Yeah.
Was static. And adventure.
You heard it? You need to tell all boys.
That was pretty good.
For real? that would have freaked you out. They'd be like, I ain't going nowhere.
That thing makes growling noises, does all kinds of stupid things. Again, it's trying to scare you. I turn it down. The only reason why I love that device so much is because of the word bank that's in it. So, just to kind of give you an example, the one that is built for ghost hunting, the Oculus that I mentioned earlier, has about 2,048 terms in it. Sometimes I'll update it. It has 36,000. Like, that's 18 times the amount.
I just was asking because it was green, 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 and then it spiked way up. red.
Right. And again, it's all part of the aesthetic. I wish
Okay.
I could just put the words on a screen, but every one of those apps has to have something on it. Like, that seems to be the most. I've been using that one for about 7 years now. Love it. So, welcome to a parking lot. You guys made it. Good job. Another beautiful spot at Charleston. George is like, man, what's with this guy? This means just a holding
Told me to
camera.
point this thing at the ground.
So this space actually used to be something really important to the city of Charleston and our country, and I'm going to get into it. But what I'm going to tell the spirit boxes, I am not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse. You will be getting the answers from your spirit boxes. This is the first space where I will withhold information purposely. So this space used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney Mansion. It actually sat in the front of this space. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant and came all the way across. And then the servant and slave quarters were in the back of the space, just so everybody kind of has the layout of what was actually here. So Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Charleses. Do you guys see why I'm looking for that secondary verifier all the time? We need to know who the hell we're talking to. Otherwise, we're going to be talking to a random Charles that we don't know who it is. So the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. That's a pretty big deal for us, but I hate politics more than anybody here. So we're going to move on. We're going to talk about Eliza. She's way cooler anyway. Eliza, she married Charles at a young age according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. If you ask her how old she was when she got married, obviously once I start separating everybody out, you're not going to hear answers like 12 and 14. Think of today's standards when you're getting those numbers. The reason I bring this up is because Charles, her husband, was over double her age when they married. Big age gap in the colonial times, big age gap now. So just kind of think of that when you're, if you're going to use that as one of your questions. But she married him because her father in England thought he was dying. Eliza didn't think he was dying. He's trying to bring all of his kids home, and she wants to stay put. It's 1744. She's getting married. She didn't marry Charles for a green card or citizenship because we're not even a country yet. She married Charles out of love, but she's also proving to her father, like, I'm staying here. Like, I'm not coming home. She was correct. After her marriage, her father got better, and he starts sending her gifts from England to this space. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. You guys have all been here for at least an hour or two that I know of. You've seen the word indigo around town somewhere, I can guarantee it. Indigo makes a blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. That's how we use it today, and I don't think anybody's wearing indigo tonight. Do you have blue jeans on, Allie?
They're black.
Black, of course you do. Oh, Lindsay does. So, Lindsay, you're our star of the night. So, I normally have at least one person that has denim on, but that's how we use it today. But when she got it, she had no idea what to do with it, so she had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated in our weird temperatures. It's not always hot here, popular to disbelief. So, but with that said, once she figured it out, she moved it to another plantation and calls her dad up and says, rice plantations are going downhill. We're going to make a killing with this indigo. We now have an international businesswoman during colonial times. Pretty big deal for us here. However, that's Eliza's business. You guys are all here for weird stuff. Jennifer's looking at me like, where's the creepy stuff? So, like, is this gonna chat about history all night?
Ooh,
Yes,
I
I
like
am.
history.
So, but you had that look on your face like, man, this is supposed to be ghost stuff. So, questions you can ask. Here's where it gets all weird. Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles back to back. Same year, 5 months apart. The first wife, Eliza, dies in January of 1744. He marries the second Eliza in May of 1744. So, again, either really smart or really stupid, fellas, depending on how you look at it. So it just depends. However, both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. That's all I'm going to give you. So if you want to figure out which Eliza we're dealing with, ask her her maiden name. The mansion's not here anymore. Ask what happened to it. Obviously, it's some kind of tragedy, right? Or else I wouldn't even bring it up. If we get an answer, ask what year that happened. We may get it. Notice that none of these questions are yes or no questions. They're all very, very specific. The children, I told you there's at least one. Charles, right? Signer of the Constitution. There's more. You can ask how many and what their names are, but after that, leave it alone. The reason why, there's a tragedy among those children. If we bring it up and poke the bear, all activity will stop. Have we gotten any readings at all on yours?
It jumped up to 5.2 at one point when
Right.
I made a face about what's his face being double Eliza's age.
Okay.
And then it jumped straight back down to 0.
That's why I call it ghost hunting. They never stand still. So I'll be recording that 5.2. But all activity will stop if we poke the bear about the tragedy with that child. Just so everybody understands, don't ruin the space for everybody else. Don't be that person, because I'll pretty much know it anyway. So you're like, yeah, nothing's coming through. But anyway, the last thing you can ask about is Eliza's death. She's pretty open. Ask anything you want to. How old she was, what she died from, where she's buried, and what U.S. president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Again, very specific questions. We're going to stay in this space anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to be bouncing around with each pair, recording your data, whatever you're hearing, whatever you're seeing, whatever's going on with your devices that you're holding. So again, depending on what you guys are telling me, that'll be dependent on how long we stay here. If we have a lot going on with a lot of first and secondary clues to verify things, we'll hang out for another 4 or 5 minutes. Otherwise, I'll move us on pretty quickly, but I will give you all of the answers to these questions before we exit the space. Is that fair? So that way you guys don't know all the answers at this point. Allie, I need to work with you specifically. Aaliyah, do you know, are you getting the gist of how to listen to that guy? All right. And Lindsay, same thing with you. Have you gotten it?
I think so.
Have you heard anything so far? Have you guys been focused on me?
I've heard adventure.
Adventure?
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard 8.3.
8.3. Very interesting. No, not relevant. Sorry. I have to go through all the birthdays and dates and all that stuff in my head. Did you see the Rolodex moving?
Yeah.
So, all right. Everybody, let's spread out. Nice slow movements with those cameras. We're going to get yours recording, George. So that's the circle button. You just tap it once, and it'll start recording. And you're good to go. Hit that mute button. It's the right here. Right? Hit that button. So when I want to see the word list, or do you even want to take a look at it? Just scroll right
It's
here.
like a radio,
You can scroll through
but like
everything that we've
if
done so far.
anything like they can come through the radio and like
So far,
say a
I
word,
don't
make
see
the
anything.
Put it back in there.
So far it's all 80% garbage.
okay.
All right. Alice, please scroll back. Oh, we had some last night too. So I had to basically shut it down. Turn it back on again. Nice and slow.
Want to walk over there?
Morgan?
That was one of the questions.
Huh?
That was one of the questions we could ask.
Which Eliza are we talking to? What was her maiden name?
Yeah.
What president was a pallbearer at your funeral? Do you remember any of the other questions?
How many kids did you have?
I wonder if she died here. I'm not seeing anything.
Christmas.
I don't know. There was a year about something.
What year did they get married?
I wonder if that church would be like a ghost hunting spot.
Yeah.
It's crazy how this thing detects heat.
Yeah.
There's some people walking through.
Okay.
Have you heard anything on the spirit box?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing?
I mean, people talking, but
Yeah, that's what we want.
yeah. Okay.
So if there's people talking, there's going to be little blurbs that kind of spit out
Yeah,
at you.
yeah.
You know, numbers, names, hopefully. Listen to why you want to do your job. You know,
Yeah.
those are the kinds of
Yeah.
things I want you to tell me what you're hearing. I want to make sure that you get the gist of
Yeah.
how to listen to it.
Okay.
Because that's a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Lil, but you're going to get a recording back tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Yours is the one not recording. So, sorry, the other one has a tab on it, so I
Okay.
know which one it is. But with that, I mean, I'm also going to give you the markers, and then, of course, there's like a little field guide that I give you guys as well. So in case you get stuck on how to watch something, how to listen to something, you can refer back to the field guide, and it'll tell you exactly piece by piece on how to watch it, how to listen to it, you know, what you're looking for, those kind of things.
Right.
So I designed it so you guys can continue this and not just spend 2 hours out
Yeah.
here in the field. So, but yeah, continue listening. Let me
Okay.
know what you guys capture.
Okay.
So you listen for the stuff in between. You wanna walk over
Like,
here?
I guess they like those. I've seen this on shows like they'll make it what they want it to say, I guess, or they'll turn it to like a song that's got something of what they're trying to say back to us.
Yeah.
But I brought the question.
Hmm?
The questions. That was scary.
How many kids did she have?
Yeah. How many kids did you have?
What was your husband's name? You wanna go ask him some more questions?
Yeah. Ask him.
Or you ask them? Hmm?
I'll ask him when he gets finished talking.
Huh?
I'll ask him whenever he gets finished talking.
I don't listen to videos, so that should be. It picks up That's why I like to use so many communication devices. That's what I think is fun. So that way you guys have something to listen to as well.
Could you do that?
All right, guys. Anything coming out of that thing yet?
No, no. Can you repeat some of the questions?
Go straight to the mansion. Like those are easy ones. Like
Okay.
just ask her what happened to the mansion,
Okay.
and then if she can tell you when it happened.
Okay.
So those are.
Okay.
What happened to the mansion? Eliza.
Man, you are glued to that thing, man. I love it.
I'm trying.
So again, this isn't always a in-the-moment thing too. Just like George's, I know the technology on that is fascinating, but when I upload these videos to you guys, they actually are transferred over from YouTube. So that way you guys can watch them on your TV, you can watch them on your computer, your phone, however you guys want to. When I find things, I obviously take screenshots to kind of show you like the differences. Sometimes I'll give you a little slider bar so you can see something moving or temperature changing, something like that. But again, these cameras, like as fascinating as they are, for me, even when I'm doing my own investigations, I'm not watching them in real time. I just set them up and let them go. That way I can review it the next day.
Oh, yeah.
But I normally
You
hand
can
it to
slow things
guys
down.
because we love this technology.
Yeah.
We're glued to it. And normally, like just so you know why I say like no cameras on cars is because if I was a car thief, that would be my first tool.
Yeah.
Because now I know exactly how long these cars have been sitting here based on their heat signature.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, so that's why I say like let's not piss anybody off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
But you're doing a great job keeping the sky out because this is a hard space to do that. Have you guys heard anything, or is it still becoming difficult?
Yeah, not
Yeah,
really.
we're just hearing like different,
Song,
words
like
and-
words, yeah.
but nothing like relating to what we're asking.
Doesn't always have to be, because everybody around here is asking questions.
Yeah.
Like I just told Jennifer and George, the answers can go anywhere. We have 7 ways of communication tonight. So normally when you watch your ghost hunting TV shows, I don't know if you guys watch them or not, but they only show up one device at a time, waiting for an answer out of one device.
Right.
You can ask a question, but the answer can
Yeah.
go to Jennifer's device. But we have 7 ways of communication, 4 spirit boxes, and my audio, and then the audio from the 2 cameras. So again, that's 7 ways for them to be able to give us an answer.
Yeah.
So far we have a bunch of numbers that really don't add up to anything yet.
Right.
So again, some of it's relative, some of it's not. So it's kind of a mixed bag. I'm not really going to say it's evidence at this point. I'm going to show you how it might be a stretch when we obviously regroup. But you might be hearing things that aren't relevant to your question. They might be relevant to somebody
Yeah.
else's question.
But I did hear ghost. Like,
Which is
it was
funny.
in a-
Somebody
it was
else
in a
heard ghost.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody else heard ghost last night too. So I don't
Yeah.
know like where that's coming from. I'm like, really? Ghost?
Yeah.
That's not something you hear on the radio. And it's usually what we want. It's the things that are at the
Yeah.
actual place. So, but yeah, nice slow movements on that thing. You got it. You're actually doing great.
Is the Justin Bieber song? Because I so for a ghost.
For her?
Yeah. That's what I was about to tell you, and he was glued to that thing. So I was like, let's sing it.
Well, I'm just trying to, like, trying to figure out what the difference should be, you know?
Yeah. I know he said it would be like gray looking. Like if it is, it is.
What happened to your mansion?
Maybe I'll hold it out like this.
Hmm?
So maybe if I hold it out like this. And when did it happen?
Yeah. That's crazy that it was a mansion on his property, though.
Yeah, that is crazy. What's her name? Elijah. That's her name.
Yeah, I think it was.
What happened to your mansion, Liza? Did you hear incident? I swear I heard incident. Any incident like something bad happened?
Yeah, but that's not really specific, though. I mean, an incident could be anything, you know?
Yeah.
There was a president at her. There was a pallbearer at her funeral.
What?
Who was the president?
Yeah, who's the president at your funeral? Did you hear that? 19? You ain't hearing none of this, is you?
Not really.
I promise God
Alright,
it said
guys, let's
19.
get you some answers.
1990 something or 19.
Hold on. Figure out who
Did
the
that camera lock up again? Yeah.
figure out who the 19th president was. Figure out who the 19th
We
president
might
was.
have to if we want to. You know,
It keeps going to police format and
yeah,
That
let's
would be
stop
crazy
recording.
if it was actually.
Fair enough. Alright, so I don't know what the problem is there, but hopefully I can fix that to get back to headquarters. Fix that. So yeah, hand over one of yours, Miss Jennifer. So, I'm going to get you guys some answers. I will tell you that we've heard like some numbers so far, and nothing is truly adding up, and you look like you're about to tell me you heard a number.
19.
19. Yeah, 19 on a reading. She heard the number 19.
I don't know if they matter. If it like matched up, if that was important.
Not necessarily, because whoever is getting close to you on those EMFs, they're not going to make it go to a specific number. So I normally don't ask for numbers because it would be a little difficult for them to be able to do that. So just so you guys know what those readings are, we actually, the 19.7 was the highest one, correct?
Yeah.
So we had a 19.7 reading on the millimeter. So what does that mean? If I'm measuring things around my house, behind your television set, there's a bunch of wires. So that's going to be about 40 to 60 milligauss, just so you guys know. We're measuring in milligauss tonight. So we had a 19.7 where there's no electrical wiring, just so you guys know. There are some like dead wires and things like around the corners, but she wasn't anywhere near it. Your microwave running on high is about 150 to 170 milligauss. I have seen that device spike up over 200 in this location. Dangerous levels. I mean, just think about a microwave. It's like putting your head in a microwave. So I seen it go all the way to 214 a few months ago. It's actually dangerous levels. Like I was standing next to it with the user, and I actually had to step away. Like I have epilepsy. Those kind of things can affect the brain pretty quickly. So I had to step away and keep checking on him. He was perfectly fine, but we never saw it go up to that spike again. And we both saw the 214. So take that for what it is. We get brand new spikes in this location. Let's go ahead and turn off that REM clock just so it's not so much of a distraction for me. But I do want to keep yours running, Jennifer, just because we don't get a lot of time with that, so I want to max it out as much as possible. But I like to kind of give you, we heard the number 40, the number 4, obviously 40 and 4 is the year Eliza and Charles got married. It's a very big stretch. We talked about the number 5 because I told you Charles was 45 when they married and Eliza was 22. So again, I was waiting for somebody to tell me the number 5 and then they heard husband or spouse or something along those lines, but we have the number 4 and we were asking about the marriage. So, but 4 is also the number of children. So again, it's really up in the air of what we're actually capturing out here. This is a great spot because it has so much activity and a lot of great questions for you guys to get used to what you're doing. But again, right now, like I'm not seeing anything like super connected, just so everybody kind of knows like what I'm looking at as a whole. Whenever I break out the tablet and I'm going to show you pictures based on certain spaces, I will go around the horn, that way you guys don't have to like overcrowd each other. But this is Eliza Lucas Pinckney. This is the second wife of Charles. The first wife being Eliza Lamb Pinckney. This is the one that married Charles at the age of 22, where he was 45. And that was in 1744. So, again, I at least like to show you the mugshot of who you're trying to hunt down. As far as the mansion, this is the only photograph we have of the mansion. This is exactly where you're standing right now. This is after the Great Fire damage of 1861. So, with that in mind, we should have heard anything relatable to a fire and the number 61. This happened on December 11th. There are some nights on higher activities where we'll actually get the full date, 12/11/61, all in the same night, along with the word fire, ashes, burnt, you know, those kind of things. But again, you guys haven't told me that you've heard any of those things yet. But again, we're not going to be in this space much longer. Every tour guide is going to tell you about a great fire, whatever year it happened in, because there's been dozens of fires in Charleston. So you're standing on the green dot of this map. The orange is obviously the fire, the green dot being on the right-hand side. This fire literally went from one side of the peninsula to the other. This was a giant fire. So about $7 million worth of damage. There's your green dot. That's where we are. It's about $7 million of damage in 1861. Do I know what that translates to today? No. Who the hell can, with inflation rising, right? So that's all the picture pages I have. Let's get into the rest of the details so you guys know what I'm looking for in the morning when I'm going through the recorded data for this space. Again, my apologies about that camera. Like, that's really bumming me out. Like, God, I've been through so much with the first one, and now this one's acting up in a whole different way. I mentioned already that there were 4 children, so we're going to actually just get started with them. So Charles, you already know about, because I told you he signed the Constitution. Like my co-host for my podcast, like I tried getting her to come on here, and but she has leg problems. She's like, there's no way I can do this call before the other night.
Yeah.
So she's about the only one I would trust to actually do it, because I trust her methods. She can handle a crowd. Her legs won't let her do it.
Yeah. God, Monty. You scared the crap out of me.
What'd you get?
Sounded like it said Murray. Murray, yeah. Sounded like Murray.
All right, Jennifer, go ahead and mute that for me. Yeah. Go ahead and mute it. Yep, so we are in a quiet space, just because we're next to the hotel. So that's the reason why we're doing it. That's why I said keep it on when we're over there. But that's so funny that you heard right here as soon as I said burn stuff. So very interesting. We get any other names that pop up? I don't have to record yours because it's doing it for me. So
It says preacher right now.
I like Mason better, and I'm going to get into that. That's really cool. So, when we crossed that last crosswalk coming down, that's where the original Charlestown walls used to be. So, you are standing on one of the first streets that Charlestown ever had. That's why I like to bring you guys down here. First off, the other tourists don't like to come here. I'm sure you're picking up on the spaces that I choose. We're not always going to be in touristy areas because you're ghost hunting, not just on a ghost tour. But I have the full list of residents of every person that's ever lived here. It's not a very lengthy list because only 2 to 5 people lived here at a time. The names I commonly hear are Benjamin and John. Now, Benjamin and John both lived here in 1801. I know that those sound like very common names, but that's 2 out of 5 people. And every once in a while, John will give us his last name, which is Johnson. It's not Murray. Sorry. Nice try. But again, I'm going to still look at the list. I don't have it memorized because I always look for Benjamin and John. Those names show up every 6 to 7 weeks. Right now, you are in week like 2 to 3 of that loop that I keep track of. So I wasn't expecting any Benjamin or John tonight, but I never know because I can't pinpoint the exact days that it's going to actually show up. Here's why I think it's actually happening. Now, at first I thought you said memory, which I was like, oh, that is going to be spot on. But you're standing on Belgian blocks. Belgian blocks are said to be made of granite. Okay, so the point of these particular, why I point these out, is because they're made straight from the earth, and they've been here for a few hundred years. Anything that comes straight from the earth, like limestone, is said to stir up activity with the paranormal. So I keep measuring this particular, like certain bricks, and some nights we get a little bit of a reach on the EMF meter, sometimes we don't. But in the past week and a half, I've been having the guest actually put your device straight to the ground and leave it there and let me know if it actually gives us any reading. So put your device on a brick and just watch the red screen and let me know how high it actually goes. Granite is not supposed to hold any electromagnetic fields at all. So the highest I've seen it go so far has been an 11.7, I think was the number. But again, it's very interesting. Some nights there's nothing, some nights it's a little bit. But anything that's been here this long. It's called the stone tape theory. It's said to hang on to the consciousness of memories and actually spit it back to us, basically playing it on a loop. It's like I'm watching a 6 to 7 week long movie and I keep getting the end tail of it of just Benjamin and John's names happening over and over and over again. So before the people lived here, the Freemasons had a Masonic lodge here, hence the name Lodge Alley. That's why I got so excited about Mason. It's almost like they're kind of like watching, like, oh, they're going to be heading towards us next. We better give them something. But again, I'll be looking for something specific to the Masonry. But we do get the term symbols. We've gotten Illuminati several times. First off, I'm going to...
Theology, right?
Theology.
Preacher before that.
But the Illuminati piece really sticks out to me because first off, it usually shows up on the Red Spirit boxes. Who the hell's talking about the Illuminati on the radio, first off? And second, why am I only hearing it while we're in this space? So again, it's one of those pieces, it's happened 6 times last year and already 3 times, and my ears just popped like crazily. You guys hearing anything on your spirit boxes? 5 pounds. So it's like your nose itches, your palm itches, your ears pop. Like normally if I'm out on an investigation and something like that happens and it's like a weird imbalance thing, because I don't know if you guys noticed, like my head wavered a little bit, but I don't normally put my feelings into this, but that was a weird pop. So I'll definitely be listening on that. So sorry, I'm not a psychic or medium, and I don't claim to be. I don't normally put my feelings into things. Do we have any kind of reading there?
No, the highest it's gotten to is 1.6.
Okay, you can go ahead and pick it up because we're not going to get anything.
Okay.
But again, this is an interesting space, and I lollygag here on purpose because it's not a space where we can ask questions. We just kind of wait to see what's happening with the recordings. I am definitely like that. That is such a weird thing. My ears popped the way they did. The next space we're going to go to is another alley. However, I am not going to be able to take you all the way through it like what we're doing here. Why? Because I've been booted out. You guys have all the gizmos with the noisemakers and blinky lights and all that stuff, and it is residential at the end. And it is a popular spot for other ghost tours of 20 people or more. So again, it's not fair to my groups of 10 to try to investigate a small space like this with 20 to 60 people running around, which is why I like to bring us here. As we exit this alley, Jacob, you're going to stop your video because we're going to be cutting through a neighborhood to get there. But again, just a weird that we had Mason, no reading, but my ears popped, and you had 5 pounds.
And then when you said residency, you said resident building.
Resident building. Really vague. It's really, really, really vague. Is there anything popping else up on your word list there?
Still on theology.
Still on theology?
Yep.
ALLIYAH, you hearing anything on yours?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Very weird spot. Let me know if you get any spikes on that as we exit. I'll be curious to see if anything kind of comes up. Just kind of try to walk down the middle so that way you're not picking up anything from the center, like off the buildings. So again, just a weird feeling for me right now. I want to get out of this space. This doesn't feel right. So, all right, let's continue moving on. Stop this right here. Get us some footage of the empty alley for just about a minute. Just again, normally, you guys stop here, but just want to get a little bit of footage. Just hear something analyze. In the sky, you're not going to be able to keep on. Just because it's all business. Now you got one of the wall.
You want me to stop the video now?
Yeah, please.
Keep this on mute.
Just try to do your best to not look so YouTube-free. That said, this is Philadelphia Alley. It's easy for me to remember because that's where Eliza's buried. Oh, I was doing my apology because I don't normally put my thoughts and feelings into where like our locations because I'm out here 7 nights a week. I just had this like weird, like an ear popping, a little creepy, a little disoriented. Like I had to get out of that space. So again, you guys can listen to any of the recording and realize I don't do that. So it's just weird that I had to tonight. So again, my apologies that I rushed this out. But this used to be called Dueler's Alley. So all of the duels, not not all of them, most of them would occur down this alley. We all tell the story of one specific duel because we can actually prove it. And I'm going to give you the story, not like every other ghost tour because they just tell a campfire story. I'm going to be giving you specific details, and things will start to make sense, especially with you guys, with what you've heard and why I got so excited. What you guys thought was funny, like, haha, that's a joke, we heard it in the song, we know. But here's how it goes. There's a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Joseph Brown Ladd. Now, he moves down here because his fiancée, Amanda, just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney that's helping her out with all of this cash, and the attorney thinks that the doctor's just after Amanda's money. So he tells Amanda to get rid of the doctor. Dr. Ladd moves to Charleston to prove that he's not just after her money, and he's going to start his practice down here. On his way into town, the coachman set him up to be robbed and killed, so it wasn't a very good start to his stay in Charleston. But somebody walking by, his name was Ralph Isaacs. I'm going to stop on Ralph for a second because you're ghost hunting. Initials mean something. Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from. Rhode Island, Ralph Isaacs. So R.I. does show up here quite often, but those are the two main characters. We need to know who the hell it belongs to. But Ralph says, dude, you don't want to stay here. There's a gunman inside. He's going to try to kill you. Let me take you to some friends of mine at 59 Church Street. You can stay there and you'll be safe and have a nice place to stay. So the doctor takes him up on the offer. The two become friends. The doctor's practice begins to take off. He's making his own money now. Amanda's moving down soon. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. Every haunted city you will ever visit has a cliched whistling ghost. Ours actually works here. So, again, I'll explain more once we get through the story. But him and Ralph go see plays together, but they can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. That's just the hierarchy of Charleston. So they're talking about William III one night on the way home, and the doctor thought the actress in town was great. Ralph, not so much. They start arguing, and it gets even uglier when Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiancée back home in Rhode Island, Amanda. So they go their separate ways. Ralph is from here. He has friends at the newspaper. He goes to his friends at the paper and puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. So it's kind of a jerk move, right? So the doctor sees the ad and rebuttals with, let's go to Dolar's Alley. Somebody's going to die. Let's just get this done and over with. So they come down, they take for 10 paces, they turn. The doctor points his gun in the air and he shoots. He did not want to kill his friend. He just wanted to have the courage and bravery to show up to the fight. But Ralph, he has his one shot. Where does he put it? In the kneecap of the doctor. You guys heard hands on my knees? Yeah. So we probably have doctor or medicine or Joseph or something showing up on another spirit box. But the doctor didn't die either. He drops to the ground, but his friends pick him up, carry him home to 59 Church Street where he dies 10 days later. He refused medical treatment. He's a doctor. He probably tried to bleed out the bullet himself. So, the campfire part of the story is that as you walk through the alley, you can actually hear the whistles from the doctor. I used to take my tours all the way through there, and it was all about using my voice recorder to see if it's actually going to show up. Do I have some I can't debunk? Absolutely. However, if you go down there with your voice recorders from your phone, I want you to keep in mind every local knows this story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street on the other side is going to throw a whistle down the alley. I do it every single night. When we're done up there, my garage is right there. I have to pass by the alley, and I throw a whistle every single night because I've been booted out, and I like to mess with the other tours. So, let's talk about how I got booted out of here. That's the fun part, because that's what everybody's waiting on, how Nick got in trouble. So this alley didn't come all the way through. So the bricks on the other side are older. Those bricks are sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's a full handprint from those kids, and well, just one of those kids, and fingerprint swipes in those bricks. It's kind of like they had to turn them in the sun. They weren't baking them to basically make them into bricks. That brick is just like a grave. That kid is not staring at that brick in the afterlife. But my teams, with all the blinky lights and EMF meters, always want to stop and check it out and see if they can get a reading. And one night, November 26th of 2020, my entire group decided to huddle around that one brick with the handprint in it, and it's outside a gentleman's dining room window. I was in the wrong. I was taking them too far, but I did not know that. I didn't know we weren't allowed to go all the way through. I was still new with this. The gentleman came out screaming. My daughter thought it was great. She was on the tour that night because Dad's getting yelled at. Yay! Like she thought it was hysterical. So we left. The next day was Thanksgiving. I did not have a tour that night. I worked in retail management for over 20 years. I finally had a Thanksgiving off, so I took Thanksgiving off. The next day was November 28th of 2020. Yes, these dates are relevant. So stop thinking and staring at me that way. She's like, why? What's the point of all this? November 28th, I have a full tour that night. It's Black Friday. I get a phone call from the tourism office to either go down halfway, which is what we're allowed to do, or reroute my tour. So I decided I'm going to reroute and figure out like if this pirate story's got any legitimacy. I already didn't believe in it because I've investigated the space plenty of times. Before I tell my folks what we're going to be doing, somebody hears the name Anne on a spirit box. I did not tell them we were going to be investigating Anne Bonny. We get there, I tell what I knew, which wasn't much about pirates, because I'm a vampire guy through and through. Somebody else hears the number 300. I don't know what that means either. So the next day I'm doing the research, like I'm going to do for you guys tomorrow morning, and the number 300 actually means something. We were there on November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th of 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial. We had other terms that showed up that night, but the word "and" beforehand, before I even told them who we were going to be discussing, and the number 300 are the reasons why I keep taking you guys back every single night. It is taking a chance that she's actually going to be there at the same time we are, because Anne Bonny is said to be seen all over town, and you're going to realize why once we get to that space. However, the next space we're going to go to, we're going to head up to St. Philip's Church and Cemetery and see what's going on there. Have you heard anything out of our spirit boxes before I move on, and what's on our word list?
When you were talking about the before the newspaper said full message.
Okay, fair enough.
And then when you said the reason we don't go there is it's dead.
Yeah. Anything else?
It's just like pouring through words here.
Do you know how to get to the word list?
Possibility, policy, crash, native, rice, installation, fame, civilian, network, person, small.
It just said my name. It said Nick. Did anybody else hear that?
I heard something, but I
Yeah, it said Nick.
Oh, wow.
You'll hear it on the regular audio. Yeah, the only thing that I can take out of that is policy, because I was kind of getting ready to tell you guys how I got booted out of there because I wasn't following policies. But that's a vague reach. Anything going on your guys' end?
I heard body.
Body. Very vague. We talk about death all night, so bodies are going to be everywhere. All right.
Crash is
Not necessarily. I would look for, I'm obviously looking for things wrapped around Philadelphia Alley, and the cool thing is we're going to be close enough to this alley the rest of our time together, we're going to get clues to this space through the rest of our time together, because it happens all the time. We'll get the address, we'll get, Brown because of his name, doctor, medicine, Amanda will show up, like it just depends. Pretty much on a daily basis, you're going to hear terms relevant to that throughout the time that we're going to be spending together. So if you want to continue recording video, you can. So we're going to be in a pretty decent area where you're going to be able to do that. So let's go up and around the corner and see if we can go capture up there. So
you don't go halfway down anymore.
it's because there's normally 20 to 60 other people down there. I think I just got in the habit of there's really no point.
Okay.
So there's nobody down there right now. Did you guys want to go down a little bit and kind of check it out? Yeah, sure. Yeah. All right. Let's
Just
cross.
34 you guys were
34. No, because the doctor was 22 when he died in 1786.
Traffic is terrible. So you said this is where the doctor lived at, or this is where?
No, this is where the duel was.
Oh, okay.
So when I do get an opportunity to bring you guys down here, I stop here at this gate. So this was kind of like where the story time was anyway, before we walked all the way through. I like this gate because it actually makes sense to the story. I like looking at the way the town changed. So remember that this alley didn't go all the way through to Cumberland Street. St. Philip's Cemetery is just on the other side of this wall, and they need a way to get the dead guy, the loser of the duel, to the cemetery without having to walk all the way down the Queen and coming back down and around. That's what this gate is for. It cuts over a courtyard, and it was an easy access way to get over to the cemetery so they could drop the dead body and go celebrate the winner with a pint. So this was where I would normally stop, so because the other tours, they spread out. Sunday night, I know, and I appreciate you like, hey, there's somebody down there. Do you want to go? Like, yeah, I'm gonna take a little peek and see what's going on. But it is a beautiful alley, and it's the most picturesque place I think we have in all of Charleston, aside from Rainbow Row. So if you love taking pictures, day or night, you can see it's perfectly lit. But again, this is a gorgeous alley. And again, I just do everything I can to just stay clear of that mansion down at the end. So I know that was 2 years ago, but I'm sure he remembers. So. But again, we're going to go up and around the corner. Just I wanted to get you guys a feel of how quiet it is down here too. So it's another good point. Even on a busy Saturday night, you down here, you cannot hear the hustle and bustle from the East Bay Street 2 blocks away. It's very quiet down here all the time. So, any ratings down here, guys? I don't think I've ever brought that device down here. So, very interesting.
Yeah, it's been below 1.9.
Okay. Very interesting spot. You're getting us some really great long footage of the thermal, so that should be really cool to watch. Because again, there's certain devices that you guys are holding right now that I didn't have at the time. So again, like your device, I know I didn't have that one for sure. So Jennifer, your device, I definitely did not have at the time. Have you heard anything out of it since we
Great.
Yeah, really big stuff. I like specific details. I like numbers. I like names. 34. I still don't know what that can be relative to. So I'm still going to write it down.
I heard that. Kidney? Kidney?
Yeah.
Whistle. Whistle. She did whistle.
Maybe you should say something about that.
That would make sense.
Prison.
I would show off the depth gate over here, but since I already did that, go ahead and have a seat. Chill out for a few minutes. So, now you guys get to see how big the other tour groups are. So, this is a very popular spot. So, what are we hearing? What do we got going on before I start telling you?
We heard
whistle.
You heard whistle?
Whistle. Yep. The word whistle.
So, it's funny.
It wasn't a whistle.
Right.
It was the word whistle.
You know, what's funny about that is oftentimes on those Red Spirit boxes, I'll hear a song with whistling in it. So like the Guns N' Roses song Patience, the Maroon 5 Move Like Jagger has whistling, like we'll only hear it in those spaces. But you heard the word specifically. Very cool. I'm excited about that. So that just means we're probably going to get even more relevant terms that you guys are just missing out on while we're here.
What did you hear?
So, you guys hear anything on your Spirit boxes before I move on?
Prison.
Prison?
sentence to prison.
Yeah, kidney.
Yeah. And Charleston.
I throw those away. It's too common.
Yeah.
So anything relatable to the current year and the word Charleston are automatically omitted. Because 2022 was said all the time and it's too easy. Just again, I look for the very specific.
Yeah.
And 2022 could be specific, but I want it in like take 20% off,
Yeah.
or there were 22 people that died.
Yeah.
You know, those kind of mentalities instead of the year 2022. 11/11.
Mary.
Yes.
Mary.
Next location.
Whole family. Yeah, we just heard whole family.
Whole family.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm writing down in the wrong space here. And then you have Mary. So I told you, your device is 75% accurate. I love that damn thing. So I'm going to start carrying that thing around with me everywhere. The wife's not going to be real happy, but it'll happen. So there's a lot that goes on in this corner. That's why I usually ask for you guys for clues. Let's go ahead and mute that for just a moment, just so I'm not distracted. Because I want to get through this space pretty quickly so we can dive into the female part across the street. But every ghost tour ends right there. I don't usually take you up there, but I still tell you what's going on. I let them have it. That's kind of like their one show and tell. That's usually their big finale. So I'm going to tell you what goes on up there and why they're there, but I always like to give you history first. There's two different sides to the cemetery. Eastern side, if you're from Charleston, like Charles Pinckney, who's buried over here, you can get buried on this side. If you're not from Charleston and belong to the church, you go to the other side. John Calhoun is actually on the other side because he's not from here. It just turns out he just lived here for a very long time. They shuffled his ass back and forth trying to figure out where he was supposed to go. And it turns out he's just not from here. So, again, since he was a child, so that's why they didn't know. But again, the 7th Vice President is over there. The number 7 will appear over here from time to time, but it's relative in 3 different ways. So I usually wait for that secondary clue. 3 different stories, no less. That makes it even worse. That's why when you heard 1111, I usually wait for double 7s, because that's the doctor's birthday. We get it all the time. So you'll hear a 7, then you'll hear a 7. Again, it's very common that I see that. But the story they're telling over there, inside that gate, there's a sign. If you've been walking around town, you've already probably seen it. It says there's no ghost at St. Philip's besides the Holy Ghost. It's because I don't want guys like me up there trying to recreate what actually occurred. So here's what happened. 1888, a young lady dies by the name of Sue Howard Hardy. Now, we just talked about initials with Ralph, right? Initials mean something. Sue Howard Hardy, SHH. Keep, very campy, cheesy. Like, I hate even telling you guys, but I see and hear it all the time. So, Sue Howard Hardy dies 6 days after her stillborn child. Very sad, abrupt ending, right? But 1987, local photographers in town, he's taking a picture of all of our beautiful cemeteries. He does capture a full apparition in one.
Like boogies. Do boogies.
Oh yeah.
Those are cute.
You like them cars?
Man, you guys are gonna make me run out of paper.
Got the name John.
Already?
There you go.
Perfect. All right, guys, huddle around. This is our last stop. So once I'm done giving you the history of the space, Jacob, if you want to go across the street to where the cemetery sign is and get us some footage of the cemetery, you're free to do that. You'll also be free to go to the front of the building and get some footage of the powder magazine there. So again, let me give you the history first, and this is a crazy whopper of a story. So
Should I shut this off?
yeah, just let me get through the history, and then you're gonna be free reign. I know you're so curious. Two of you are gonna be all over. I love it. So I'm still like a little shook from Lodge Alley. I can't lie. Like, I feel like my voice is going. Am I?
I feel really
Oh,
flushed.
you are. I don't know. I just feel like a little. I don't want to say disoriented, but I feel a little bit off. So again, I have to pay attention to those little things because of my epilepsy. So it's just weird that this is actually. I don't normally get this the way on the tours. So this space, we're going to be discussing the little tiny building over there with the crosses on it. So first off, those are not crosses, those are earthquake bolts. If you don't know what earthquake bolts are, they're basically turnbuckles that run through the roof of the building. And if we have another earthquake, like what we did in 1886, which we have not, you can turn those turnbuckles and it'll tighten the building back up and help reduce the damage. It's a great idea, it just doesn't work. The only reason I bring these up is because this is the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston put in. Why? Because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina. It was finished in 1713. We are here because this building is familiar to the time frame that Anne Bonny was in Charlestown. So this is like using a toy to attract a child ghost. They call it a familiar. So that's kind of the whole point of why we're going to be here. But of course, I'm going to give you a few lines of this building's history. So we talked about the original Charlestown walls earlier. This is the road where the wall existed, right where that parking garage is. It went up past the powder magazine and then started going south behind me to lock the powder magazine into the corners on purpose. It's 3 blocks away from the water, and it's as far away from the water as it possibly can be inside the walls. If a pirate ship or Revolutionary warship is going to throw cannonballs at this thing, it's going to have a hard time getting through the 35-inch thick walls. Who the hell is screaming at us? Awesome. Okay. So, let's pretend that cannonball goes all the way through those giant thick walls and it blows up the gunpowder. There's sand in the roof that is put there from its original construction to blow up in the air with the explosion and fall to put out the fire of the gunpowder. It's another great idea, but that doesn't work either. We had another powder magazine closer to the battery, got hit, sand went up, building burned to the ground. It doesn't exist. This one's just never been attacked. It also served in 7 different wars and a rebellion. So, the number 7, this is the second clue for that. We had John Calhoun, 7th Vice President, Joseph Brown Ladd, birthday of 7-7. So again, we get 7s here all the damn time, but I always need the secondary clue as to where it belongs. So far we do have John, that kind of goes along with that, but there's also a John in the story I'm about to tell you. So it gets a little weird and a little hairy around this corner because a lot of things can bleed over. So,
Just heard 7.
7 again? So now we have 2 of them. Awesome. Probably going to get all 4 of them that we need.
Oh my god.
What do you got now?
Lust.
Swim,
Yes.
lust, and ownership. After
Did you
John.
say swim?
Swim, like swimming, swim.
Guys, it's not going to get any clearer than this. So, swim and lust, like, I'm about to tell you about Anne Bonny's lovers. Like, all of them.
Nice.
Yeah. So, let's get into it. Keep your eye on that guy. It's actually working out for us. So, this building took 10 years to build. That doesn't sound like our government, does it? Small building, 10 years? No, not at all. But Anne Cormack moves here in 1708 from Ireland, right in the middle of this building's construction. She's with her father and his mistress. The mistress is her mother. Is everybody with me so far? There's a couple of twists in this one. I'll slow down. So, the 3 of them are running away from his wife. How angry was she? You got to get in a boat and leave your country to come here. They land in Georgetown, just north of here, between us and Myrtle Beach. Dad buys a plantation. Mom dies pretty quickly. That means he has to send young Anne down here to Charlestown to sell anything from the plantation and keep things afloat. So that's why we're here. This place is a familiar location for that. Now, Anne back home in Ireland was kind of a badass. They say she actually killed one of her servants with a knife to the belly when she was only like 10 or 12 years old. Yes, I know, kind of crazy stuff. But I like to give you that girl's mentality through the rest of the story. What did you hear?
Andrew. Sorry, didn't mean to yell at him.
So now all the clues are pointing to Calhoun. Calhoun served under Andrew Jackson.
Just
So-
so together.
Anyway, back to Anne Bonny. Back to Anne Cormack, because that's who she is right now. So, building was done in 1713. 1715, pirates are coming through town, and Anne is pretty stoked. She's about 16, 17 years old at this time, and she's going to fall in love. First guy she's going to fall in love with, James Bonny. Dad doesn't approve because he's a filthy pirate. They run away to Jamaica, they get married, Anne Cormack becomes Anne Bonny, the most famous female pirate of the Golden Age. But James Bonny is a privateer. This guy is a spy for the British. He's a coward in her eyes. This is not who she wanted. She falls in love again, guy number 2. This guy's name is John Rackham, aka Calico Jack. We're going to call him Jack through the rest of the story because this is the same guy that they based Captain Jack Sparrow from the Pirates movies from, just so you know. Jack has his own ship and wants to be part of it. You can't put a girl on the crew. Why? They're bad luck. Imagine that. Females are bad luck. Did you guys hear that? So, he makes a deal with her. If she wants to be part of the crew, she can dress like the crew, meaning she's going to hide her gender, but she could be a female in his quarters. She's okay with this cross-dressing because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy back home in Ireland to keep her away from his wife. So she's like, whatever, I'm a pirate, let's go. Being a female in his quarters, we're all adults here, we can put 2 and 2 together. She's going to eventually get pregnant. You cannot have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a female. Right? So he drops her off in Cuba, go have the baby over here, these are friends of mine, they'll help you out, come back, we'll figure it out later. She returns with no baby. We have no idea what happened to this child. First mystery. Again, pirate lore, can't find any kind of ties. She's also dressed like a female. This makes Jack pretty angry, because now his entire crew is going to know that she was on the ship, and she was a female. While she was away giving birth to, his child, he captured another pirate crew, and they're down below deck. Anne's going to go flirting, because that's what Anne does. Guy number 3. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female, dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. So now we have 2 females, dressed like males, on the same ship. That young lady's name was Mary Reed. So there's your Mary that popped up. Her and Mary become friends, possibly lovers, we'll never know for sure, and the British find out where they are. They send their entire fleet of ships to come take down their one pirate ship. Now, Anne and Mary are the only 2 not drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet flintlocks because they don't know how to use the cannons. Obviously, against a whole fleet of ships, they're going to get taken. As they're being arrested, Anne looks at her captain and her beau, Calico Jack, and says, "You should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog." So the word dog shows up here quite often. Actually showed up here last night. I was quite excited about that one. So the judge, his name is Nicholas Laws. So when you hear my name, it's not me. It's going to be based on this judge. It's actually one of 3 Nicholases, me being one of them. But he wants to see the 2 men that fought back so valiantly by themselves after he's tried Calico Jack and the drunken pirates that wouldn't come up and fight. So they're dead and gone. The 2 ladies go in front, hoping to save themselves. They reveal their gender. He doesn't care that they're females. They're still pirates. He's still going to hang them. "We plead our bellies," was the last thing they said, meaning they're both claiming to be pregnant. You cannot hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. So he sends them both back to jail, delays the hanging. Dad is still here in Charlestown with all of his Irish money. He bails out Anne, brings her back home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4 has 4 kids and dies at the age of 84. Yes, all of my stories end in a very abrupt death. Did you guys hear the number 5?
I did.
So she had 4 children afterwards, and then 1 in Cuba, 5 children. So I seen you like held up your hand. Mary Read died a year later in 1721 from whatever pirates that from in a Jamaican jail. Use your imagination. I'm sure it was nasty and gross. I left out 2 questions here on purpose that I can actually prove. I'm not going to give you the plethora of questions like what I gave you at the Pinckney Mansion, because this is fair game. You all know what the hell you're doing by now. So I left out the name of Anne Bonny's parents on purpose, so you have something to start off with. That's the father and his mistress. I also left out Calico Jack's ship name, so I know that one for certain as well. I am going to steal you guys for 1 more minute before I have us all spread out and check out the space. I told you at the beginning that people have passed out on my tours. This one's actually relevant to the story. Back in September, nice cool night like this, the kid next to me, I bring my team back here, he goes white as a ghost, literally. And I have to like pick him up by his armpit. His boyfriend picks him up from the other side of him. We get him over to that wall, get him a bottle of water, he's feeling better. I then tell the story. It's important to know that he doesn't know what you guys know about Anne Bonny at this point. I then tell the story, spread everybody out, they pull me aside, him and his boyfriend. We gotta tell you something. We are 2 transgender males, meaning I had 2 females dressed as males, just like Anne and Mary in the story, and it made complete sense to them as to why one of them nearly passed out as soon as we entered the space. These are the uncanny things that I see all the time. So take it for what it's worth, but I have to give that heated warning at the beginning. Nobody here told me of any illnesses, so that's a great thing. I didn't have to call any paramedics tonight. But this is definitely a weird space. We're either going to get a lot of activity, which based on what we're already seeing and hearing, like it could be a pretty decent time in here tonight. Now, last night we had the word dog, but that was about it. Oh, we had sea dog show up, which I thought was very interesting because James Bonny would have been considered a sea dog because he worked for the British as a privateer. So I was like super stoked about that because we had the word sea, something in between, and then the word dog. I'm like, are you kidding me? The sea dogs? Let's do this. So, but anyway, let's spread out. We definitely want to use your REM pod. This is not a space for EMF, so pull up your antenna first because it'll, yeah, there you go. Now hit the white button in the back. You're not going to get a whole lot of red numbers. It's going to be all about the colors here. So the closer, you're blind, Lindsay. The closer you get to those bushes over there, and the corners, those electrical poles and the parking meters, you're probably going to get a little bit of a signal. Don't get excited. Okay. Just so you know. Again, false positives. But Jacob and Aaliyah, if you guys want to go over to the cemetery or the front, you can do that as well. Anybody else want to go check out the front or those locations, you're more than welcome to go with them. But I'm going to go chill over there by the wall and wait for you guys to come back and see me. If you guys have been gone for 3 hours, obviously we have an issue. So go ahead and get that thing unmuted. What other words do we have on yours?
We just got Emma.
And I can't prove the names of her children. There's no record of them anywhere.
Is that
While
part
you're
of the building
telling
usually
us-
pretty cold?
While you're telling the story, it said all the pain.
Yeah.
So, couch, endless, toxic rhetoric.
It's just really fuzzy.
I heard hi, this is Robin. Robin. Yeah. Earlier.
That's the airspace in between the trees and the building.
Oh, yeah.
Your camera does not see in 3D like we do. That's why it gives you white lines to outline everything.
Yeah.
But you're getting skyline.
Okay.
All right, have some fun with this, guys.
You walk through cemetery?
Yes.
I thought that pirate thing was really cool.
Huh?
I thought that pirate thing
Yeah.
was really cool.
I was very interested in that.
Yeah,
I
me
was
too.
looking and getting eyes. I was intrigued.
God, that looks creepy.
Huh?
That looks creepy.
I heard hi, this is Robin.
That's
Earlier.
crazy.
Like it didn't sound like a song or anything. It was just hi, this is Robin.
Oh my god.
Oh, that looks so creepy. I'm gonna. I would die if we seen.
You see that moving? There's a tour behind us.
Oh god.
Sorry, guys.
I didn't hear anything. This is pretty creepy too. The swings.
Huh?
That's pretty creepy too. The swings.
No, I really want to go up that park.
Huh?
I really want to go up that park.
Where's the park thing?
You see what that thing is burning? The orange light?
Yeah, I see it. Yeah. If I lose it, we are going over there.
Huh?
We are going over there. We can go to the front of the building over here.
Yeah.
My throat's not hurt.
Mine is feeling it.
Mine's hurt every time I swallow.
Yeah.
You gave it to me.
Mine is hurting bad.
Is it hurting really bad right now?
Both sides of mine.
Mine is too right here, right in the middle. Need to take some whenever we get back. Did you hear that? Church. I heard church.
I kind of want to take a picture of that.
Did you hear that laughing?
Yeah.
It's creepy. What time is it?
What about
11:45?
10?
Can we do this?
He said the front of the building, right? Oh, God.
He was telling a better story, but this is where we get those gunpowder.
That's pretty crazy. Did you hear him stuff?
Huh?
Did you hear him stuff?
It was like a scream, but I don't know what it was. Hey.
What you got?
We heard a man laughing.
Okay.
It was
Yeah.
like a weird laugh.
Yeah, it was a
It
pretty,
don't sound like it would be like on a radio or
yeah, it was a
something.
pretty weird laugh.
Yeah.
Okay. Possibly disembodied then. If well, yours isn't recording, so I can't verify it.
Yeah.
Because when a disembodied voice shows up, I have a way to analyze it to make sure it's not a radio station.
Right.
Because I mean, I have disembodied EVPs, like what you hear on TV.
Yeah.
They're just very, very rare.
Yeah.
Anything else coming out of it?
No, I was recording the cemetery and Troy walked up. So.
Yeah, and that guy's cool. Like he's like my one friend in this industry. Like
Yeah.
he's the only guy I actually call for like, hey, can you tell me a little bit about this history?
Yeah.
You know, he's really cool. His story's actually really amazing. If you want a creepy storyteller, that guy's amazing. Like I have a master's degree in creative writing, and that guy to me like blows me away.
Really?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
he's been doing it almost 30 years.
So did she actually live there?
No. So again, the whole point of why we're here is because of the time frame that this actually was being constructed.
Mm-hmm.
So it was finished in 1713, and she moved here in 1708, which is right in the middle of its construction. So when she came to Charlestown to sell anything from the plantation, she probably would have had to come by this location more.
Yeah.
But she is said to be seen all over town. This just happens to be one of the spaces where actually tourism is allowed to be this late at night. So it's part of the reason why I keep bringing you guys up here. And again, I didn't even believe this story when I first heard about it, because I had a season pass here.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, I'm in the Powder magazine all the time. I would take equipment and I get diddly squat. So, and then all of a sudden my first tour here, I get like crazy clues, like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they're getting all kinds of things. They had 5 children, all of them. I want to love you. We'll get a lot of love terms here because I'm telling all of our lover stories. And then they heard the word picture, and that could be relatable to Sue. So I'm waiting for another clue for that baby, the name Sue, the year, 18, anything that's relative to it. So, and what's nice is that there's a lot of 1-888 numbers that you would hear in a commercial. So I get 888 here all the time.
Yeah.
And if I get something else next to it, like that's an automatic. Like if it says cold baby died, and then I have 1-888, I'm like, that's the year it actually happened.
Yeah.
It was 1888.
Yeah.
So, that's an easy one if we can grab it, but it's got to be there.
That pirate thing, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that where Jack Sparrow came from.
Yeah. And actually, if you have Hulu, check out Black Sails. Like I'm watching it right now, and I've read a ton of books on pirates, and the Calico Jack that plays Calico Jack in the show, like, is exactly how I would picture him based on all of the readings that I've read about Calico Jack from the original pirate books and things that were documented about pirates. Like this guy plays a perfect Calico Jack. He's quirky. He's a skinny little runt. Like he just, you know what I mean? Like he's just that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could definitely see like where they based Captain Jack Sparrow off.
So the guy you said that lives there now, is that where they actually stayed in when they would come here? Or is it in the backyard thing you were talking about?
So the back courtyard is basically a very small space. Like just think of like where all of this junk is. It's that small.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not very large at all. But the house would have been an inn at the time because we don't have many buildings that old. This is when I say government building because this is the oldest government building. We have buildings older than that, obviously. And Blackbeard, he died in 1718, 1719. So he was before Anne Bonny. So obviously that building is at least from 1718.
That's crazy stuff.
And we have some buildings. The oldest house that I know of that we have is the Pink House, and that's on Chalmers Street. It's a little tiny, like 400 square foot house, 3 stories, 1 room per floor. So crazy stuff around here. And again, I had to walk around town trying to find more damn ghost stories in there. Now what do we have?
Anything else, bud? I like hearing about history
I
stuff.
know, it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. I want to go back to that video. That's what's really creepy to me.
But
Graveyard.
yeah, I'm gonna be sleeping tonight, but in front of one.
You better leave that with him. I ain't taking that to the house.
The clock back down, but
Yeah.
I love those.
I really like pirates. I think pirates are so cool.
And vampire.
you asked what her parents' names were, you weren't expecting Mary to come through, because we already had a Mary, right? So, Calico Jack, I also like to show off him, just because everybody gets super interested once I say, like, this is the guy they based Captain Jack Sparrow off of. But he was named Calico Jack because of the jackets that he wore. They came from the men he killed, which were British captains. That would make him calico, fancy. So that's basically what the meaning of that is you're a fancy man, Calico Jack. But the name of his ship was the Kingston. I don't expect Kingston to pop up through one of your spirit boxes unless it's through
Royals.
I heard betrayal.
betrayal. Well, we're talking pirates. They all betrayed each other. Every single one of them. But King would actually suffice here, and we've had King show up on that spirit box. I've heard like Charleston commercials say go to King Street. That would actually suffice here, especially if you asked it directly. We don't get King a lot, but I'd love to have you guys keep poking that bear to see if we can actually get something out of them. We didn't get any crazy motion or anything like that out of the millimeters, so again, very interesting of all the terms we're getting around this space relative to, we also had the word picture show up. So again, I'll be looking for things around Sue based on the photograph that I showed you guys across the street. So very interesting space just because so much goes on over here and there's a lot of stories. There's like 10 more. I just leave them out because most of them are legends and lore because you can't really prove what actually happened. As I start collecting these devices, you guys ask me a million questions. I'm pretty much an open book at this point. Really? Nothing?
I gotta think for a second.
What's like the best you've heard, like over here?
Heard or seen?
Both.
Like in Charleston or anywhere?
Anywhere.
Okay, so I will tell you that my best investigation was probably of the Flight 93 Memorial in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where the 9/11 planes crashed. So I like to go to places that aren't deemed haunted, as I'm sure you guys already figured that out. But that was probably the most amount of evidence I've ever gotten out of one space. I actually captured a full body apparition, all cold, on the thermal imaging camera, wearing a hat just like what I'm wearing, looking out over where the plane crashed. I had two word lists going. One of them actually gave me terms that were relative to the Iraqis, and the other one had American terms on it and things relative to the pilots and the passengers of the plane, including names. The spikes that were around that space were unbelievable as far as EMF spikes. Like, they were all over the place. And there was no general, like, oh my god, it went up to 20 here or 25 over here. Like, it was literally up and down, up and down. What got me the most is because I had my autistic nephew with me. He was running a word list for me, and I was running one on my phone. And again, when you looked at them side by side, Iraqi, American. All of my investigations, guys, are all in the podcast, which will be at the top of your data page. I am going to show you, and you reminded me, like, what's the coolest thing you've ever seen? This was actually just captured with the camera that we took from you, a few weeks ago when I first got it. I want to say it was the second or third night, and it's exactly where we're standing right now, which is why I like to show you at the end. So you can kind of huddle in here, and what you're looking at is basically an orb's going to pop up over here and then change direction, and it is a very large orb. I don't know why it keeps going dark. Did you guys see it come through this way? Again, I don't know why this thing goes. See how it brightened up again at the end? But that is probably one of the biggest orbs I've ever caught. I'll play it again just so you guys can actually. My finger was probably in the way. But that is probably one of the biggest orbs that I've caught because there's really no destination inside the frame. If it would have left the frame, I would have probably counted it as something else. So again, very interesting that that one actually came through. That's why I love that camera so much that I had to take from you. Other one that I caught is super small. That was in the Lodge Alley, so it's actually going to show up right here in the bottom corner. So try not to blink because it's that quick. But it starts in the frame and ends in the frame. So again, very interesting piece on that. But as far as like some of the best stuff I've ever seen, like I love when I can almost have a full conversation between the spirit boxes, and I have 4 or 5 spirit boxes running at the same time. And I've actually done that. I do get disembodied voices. The Pinckney Mansion site has given me Just Leave Us Alone over 11 different radio stations. That was about a year ago. I have had full conversations with them, or gotten full sentences out of them. So this one was interesting. I was using a reverse spirit box myself because I didn't have all the crazy gear you guys are using. A reverse spirit box is basically a man and a woman, 2 people talking, and they reverse the audio. So if it comes through in forward motion, it comes out loud and clear. So I hear in real time baked beans breakfast, like clear as day. I have no idea what the hell that means. I'm at the Pinckney Mansion site. I'm going through the data the next day, and I hear "I'll fix you" on the S-Box recording, and then the word list gives us the word tea. I looked at all the timestamps, and they all line up. "I'll fix you," baked beans breakfast, and tea. my team had to tell me that baked beans for breakfast is a thing in the UK. We were talking about an old English one.
Beans on toast.
Yeah, no idea. I'm clueless to that. So again, it was all news to me, but that baked beans breakfast came out loud and clear. Again, I get weird stuff all the time. Like I told you about the 2 transgender males, like that kind of thing happens. Psychics and mediums don't normally make it through this, guys. Pinkley Mansion's usually too much for them, especially with the EMF readings that I get out of that space. So, do things happen every single night? Not necessarily, as far as with you guys, but I will put clues together with all of your devices, as far as the media that goes through. Now, what happened in Lodge Alley to me tonight with that crazy ear pop, it was only one ear. Again, I don't know if you guys caught that, but I mean, my head kind of jerked a little bit. Like, what the hell was that? I just didn't feel right in there. Again, I don't normally do that on the tour because you guys aren't here to watch somebody claim that something's happening, which is why you're all using electronic devices of things we can actually measure. I don't put my thoughts and feelings into this. It's all about what can we measure. That was just very odd, and I just didn't feel right in there. So again, my apologies for that. But yeah, what else do you guys have? Take yours first.